I know that people will join whenever you get a chance, but I've just got to start this out of the gate. This is not going to be easy for me to admit. This is going to take a lot of courage. My heart is already beating like, my heart is like, oh my gosh. I've been lying to myself and to a large amount of y'all for way too long. Now, I say that because growing up, I was always known for my grades. I was known for being able to figure out any math problem, any science problem, and then I went on to engineering school and did well there too. Now, that's great. I loved being that person that could help my friends figure out math and calculus and difficult things, solving problems. I've always gravitated towards math, but I realize now, I'm literally 27 years old just realizing this. I realize that I have suppressed a large part of myself and my interests because I had basically already categorized myself as, okay, I'm the girl that's good at math and science. I'm the girl that's going to go into engineering. And I figured that you can only be good at one thing, which is absolutely nuts. Like, that's so silly. I've been painting for 15 years. And I have never taken myself seriously as an artist. Never. Because I had put myself in a box and I had convinced myself, like set up these mental obstacles of what I needed to be and what I couldn't be based off of this box that I had already put myself in, which is absolutely dumb. I don't know why I did that. So, when I didn't take myself seriously as an artist, even though I've been doing it for 15 years, there were a couple of things that went into that. I had convinced myself, okay, Morgan, like you took classes when you were younger and you took classes in school, but you don't have an art degree. Nobody's going to take you seriously. Nobody's going to want your work. Nobody's going to care about your work. You're never going to get into an art gallery. I had reinforced those things to myself over and over again. I'm not an elite fancy member of the arts community, so I just figured that would never pan out for me. And as a result, I have very much suppressed the part of me that loves art and is interested in artistic things. So, had to get that off of my chest. It's crazy that only for maybe 3 months now have I been actively pursuing my art of making a website and genuinely putting 100% of my effort into it. Like, I'm making myself very vulnerable to completely fall on my face if it doesn't go well. I'll launch next week. I'll launch on Thursday. But if that doesn't pan out very well or people don't really care about it, then yeah, I might be completely embarrassed, but I would be more ashamed if I didn't give it a chance, if I didn't try. It's also really funny that, I don't know, I did pageants in college, and that was fun. That was a really, really fun experience. But along with that, I had seen so many beautiful, perfect girls. I had seen their Instagram, and I had convinced myself in order to do anything or be successful or get followers that I had to look a certain way, I had to dress a certain way, I had to buy all these name brands and have a perfectly aesthetic Instagram feed to be considered seriously for anything, especially business related. So I threw all that out of the window, and I've been posting a lot more often about my art. But what's ironic is I have already seen, just in the past week, like, Wally, I agree. We don't need all of that perfect Instagram feed. That is just not realistic. What's funny is since I've been posting more about my art, more about the story behind what I'm doing with my art and my vision, I have already lost like 20 followers within a week, which is nuts. So, just wanted to let you guys know, if you're not about that art life and you don't want to hear me talk about it, then you probably need to unfollow me, because I'm going to keep talking about it and a lot more at that. So, I think that people get way too caught up in looks, how their Instagram looks, and worrying about follower count instead of worrying about being true to yourself and finding a community of people who are going to support you and that you're going to be able to support and give something to. I've talked a lot about art and what I'm doing as far as my website and getting more serious, taking myself more seriously, but what I haven't talked about is my mission behind my art. I've been painting for 15 years. For about 8 of those years, I just kind of painted what I thought was pretty. And I got a lot of practice, which was fun, but I never really connected with the meaning of my artwork. My mom died when I was 20, so that was 7 years ago. Completely unexpectedly. She was totally healthy and just had a stroke while she was driving home one day, then was in the hospital for a week. We had to decide as a family, what are we going to do? And it really wasn't even a decision for us. Her being permanently on life support was not really a life. So that's the story of how my mom died. But after that, I realized maybe it's just American culture. I'm not sure about other cultures, but our culture doesn't really know what to say to people who are grieving or what to give them. I know you can't do or say anything to make somebody feel better. It's going to be awful, and you're going to feel like crap for a couple of months. But we do these really odd things that don't help. Like, people give you flowers. And while they're beautiful, you can keep them in your house for about 2 weeks, and then they die. They die 2 weeks after the funeral. So how odd is that? We give somebody a gift for a funeral, and then it's going to die 2 weeks later and only remind you about death. So I thought that was really odd. Another odd observation that I've had about how our culture handles death is people will tag you in a ton of pictures of whoever died, or send you pictures as a reminder, print them out for you, which I think is really nice. But every time I see a picture of my mom, the last time that I saw her, she had a ventilator tube in her mouth and bruises on her face, and she was swollen. She didn't even look like herself. Every time I see a picture of mom, the only thing I can think about is her physical body is not here anymore. Of course, as an artist, I had a lot of feelings, and I was trying to sort out what to do with those. I decided that I was going to paint things in memory of my mom's soul, her spirit, who she was, to help give me a positive reminder of her instead of those other typical reminders that our culture gives you, like pictures, that just reminds you that someone isn't here anymore. So I'm trying to reinforce healing and getting past your grief and being able to think about that person in a positive way, and the fact that their soul is still alive, instead of remembering only the loss of their physical body. I started painting things for myself, and then I reached out to a friend whose brother died a year after my mom died. And I told her, hey, I want to paint something for you. Let me know something that reminds you of your brother. And she just sent me I guess you could call it a review, a story today, and told me how having that painting made her feel. So I'm going to read this out to you guys. I read it earlier at work and I cried. I was just so touched by how much this meant to her. So this is the review. When it comes to Morgan Tanner art, I happen to be the lucky recipient of the first ever healing gift. That's what I'm calling the paintings that I do for people experiencing grief, whether that's a death or any other type of loss, maybe a relationship, maybe something happened with your health. Morgan and I knew each other before grief was known and before loss happened. We met through Sigma Kappa sorority at Louisiana Tech, and immediately I was drawn to her kind heart and happy personality. I still remember the day that her loss happened, and I remember being awestruck by her poise and strength as she maneuvered in the new reality she was in. A year later, the unthinkable happened to me as well. I lost my brother in a surgery complication that left my heart broken and my world shattered. Morgan was the only other friend of mine at the time that had gone through such a loss, so when she reached out to me in those next days, she knew my reality and understood firsthand how to relate to it. It may have been around then that God laid on Morgan's heart to begin using her talent to affect the hurting, and she reached out and asked me, what is something that reminds you of Daniel, because I want to paint it for you. A few weeks later, I received a wolf painting, the type of wolves that my brother loved, a timber wolf. I was awestruck. Morgan spent hours and days building this for me to represent the shared loss that I had. She was partaking and folding her heart into sorrow as a friend and as someone that has made it through the first stages. To this day, almost 5 years later, I treasure that painting because how blessed I am to have a friend that would take the time to paint me an image in remembrance for my brother. Morgan Tanner art is special because unlike most art, this art is truly made in remembrance by someone that knows grief, has walked the same shoes, and knows words can't contain the depth of hurt and the missing you're feeling. By hand, Morgan pours her heart onto a painting in which she shares in just a bit of that journey, and it's a beautiful, precious, and everything else that is good. I'm honored to have been one of the first recipients of Morgan's healing gifts and highly recommend it to anyone that wants just a bit of their loved one's memory in their lives. So, today, when Michaela sent me that, I guess I had a realization that I've sat on my art for years and haven't been active about sharing it, haven't been active about trying to help other people go through their loss like I did and give you some type of a positive memory to be able to look back on the person or maybe even something that you lost and experienced without being reminded that they're gone. Yeah. Michaela's review it really means a lot to me. And I've done these types of paintings for a couple of other people recently. I haven't gotten to drop them off in person, but I'm actually going the weekend of October 10th. I'm going to go drop those paintings off, and I'm super pumped about it. I'm ready to see the reactions and see how well I did in capturing the overall soul and spirit of these people that we are trying to remember and helping my friends get through their grief. That's what I really think is my purpose and mission in art. That's why I want to create art. It doesn't matter if I don't have an art degree. It doesn't matter if I never get into a gallery and I'm not sitting among these elite people in the higher ups of the art world. That doesn't matter to me, because what I want for my work is I want my work to be able to help you heal through your grief and have something positive to look back on. That's something that a gallery wouldn't necessarily understand, because this art is meant for you and to make you feel better and give you a positive memory. Excuse me. So yeah, that's in a nutshell everything that I had on my chest that I really needed to share. Thanks for everybody that called into the live. I'm going to go ahead and post this on my IGTV to keep myself accountable for all that I'm doing in my artwork. So, announcement. A week from this Thursday, a week from tomorrow, my website, morgantannerart.com, goes live. Yeah, I'm so pumped about my website. I've spent like 3 months on this, you guys. I've spent a lot of time. I hope that y'all like it. Here, I'm going to announce something here that I'm going to send out another video for, but if you go to morgantannerart.com right now, you can enter your email, and there are some other instructions that I'll send out tomorrow in a video, but There are 3 steps that you'll need to follow in order to get on the list for the biggest giveaway that I've ever done as an artist for the launch of my website, which is going to be on October 1st. So if you go ahead and go to morgantannerart.com, put in your email, that's the first step to be considered for the giveaway, and I'll put the rest of the instructions in the video I post tomorrow. Thanks, y'all.